Today is the 12th day of Vlogmas. It is also the middle of the week. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday, December 12th, 2018. Today is the 12th day of Vlogmas. It is also the middle of the week. Today, I am sporting a brand new shirt from Lipstick & Littles that just arrived in the mail. I think it was yesterday or the day before. But this one says, "Read like a hero." Amazing. I love it. I'm also wearing my Lillipop Pastel Rainbow Lanyard, and I'll link both in the description box below. Hashtag not sponsored. I just love these things. All right, so this morning, as I got out of the house, I didn't get anything to eat at home, and I didn't have time to stop somewhere to get something to eat because if not, my son would have been late to school. But then I remembered the cafeteria at school always has breakfast in the morning, and for us teachers is about $2. So I said, let's find out what they have, and I want to show you what I got. Because I know sometimes you think of cafeteria food and you're like, oh no, I'm not going to eat that. But when you're hungry and when the food looks like this, you are like, yes, please, because this is going to hold me up until lunch. But this is what I'm going to eat for breakfast today. So along with my breakfast, I did pick up the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which I love, as a little snack for later. And here is my breakfast. So these are cheesy grits. This is a chicken patty. This is a guava and cheese pastry. And this is a pouch of applesauce, which I can use as a snack later. So that is what I'm having for breakfast this morning. I don't know, but to me that looks delicious, especially when I'm hungry and I need to eat something. All right, the other thing I need to do right now is I need to wrap our books for our little holiday display, and we are reading 2 holiday books today. So I happened to choose these 2 holiday books from our classroom library. So here is what we'll be reading today, and we'll be wrapping it up, and I guess I'll put it through a speed through of me wrapping up these books. Now I have to admit, I am not the best gift wrapper. I just try to do my best. So that's what's gonna happen. And the kids have been loving collecting the gift wrapping paper that I use to wrap the books. So today we're gonna read 2 books, and these are the books. First, we have my first Kwanzaa book, which we'll be reading today. I also have, after we read this, The Polar Express, which is a classic. And hold on a second. Like I was saying, this is a classic, and I love, love, love Chris Van Allsburg. And yeah, so those are the 2 holiday books that we'll be reading today, and I'll wrap them up and put them by our menorah and Christmas tree display. All right, so let me go ahead and eat my breakfast, and I'll catch up with you later. It's the end of the day, and I just finished having a grade level meeting with my team, which was a really productive meeting. We were just planning the logistics for next week's holiday party, as well as our winter packet and what we wanted to include in it, etc. And now I'm getting ready to prepare for my sub days, because tomorrow after school, we have our holiday party, and I don't want to stay here till late tomorrow working on sub plans for Friday all the way till Tuesday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay as late as possible today and make my sub plans for Friday, Monday, and Tuesday, have it all ready to go. We were able to finish Mr. Popper's Penguins today, and the students absolutely loved it. They were a little sad that it didn't continue or was not longer. Some of them were saying that the book needed a sequel, but we all know there's no sequel to Mr. Popper's Penguins, but it's an amazing story, and I'm so happy that they loved it. So they were working on their book reviews, which you saw clips for. So let me show you a closer look of what that sheet looks like. So here is the book review sheet. I also have this in my 40 book challenge packet that I give to the students that I haven't done yet for this school year. But this is what the sheet looks like. Basically, they start by writing the title and the author. They go ahead and give it a star rating. They tell me what the book was mostly about with no spoilers, their opinion, what they thought about the book, and I do give them some sentence starters and why they would recommend the book or not. So they complete this, and I will look through these, and because it includes main idea and summarizing, as well as supporting their opinion, I do give this a grade. So I wanted to share that with you so you can see what my book review sheet looks like. In addition to this book review sheet, my students worked on their chapter summaries and their annotations. So I'm going to show you the annotation sheet again, as well as my chapter summary sheet. So you can see two other assignments that I created myself that I use with this novel. This is the annotation sheets that I gave them to complete for chapters 11 through 15. So it was 5 chapters that I had them work on. And basically they had to write one annotation per chapter using one of these symbols. And I did instruct them in the directions because I want to challenge them that they could only use each symbol once. And they have 5 chapters, so they have 6 symbols, so they can pick and choose. They draw the symbol here, and then they explain by making the annotation on that chapter, whatever that symbol represents. And I tell them that it needs to be a complete annotation that shows me their thinking. So that is one of the assignments that they did for Mr. Popper's Penguins. And here is an example of one of my students' annotations. They're not done yet. They do have to complete it. They do have some time tomorrow to complete all of their assignments for Mr. Popper's Penguins so that they can make sure that they completed both the chapter summaries, which I'll show you in a moment, and these are the annotations as well as the book review. These are the chapter summaries that is now a resource in my TPT store. I'll make sure I link it down below. But in this resource, I make sure I included these slides on what is a summary, how to write a summary, and what you can also use, which is somebody wanted but so then finally. And then these are my chapter summaries. My students received this one, which was 5 summaries for 5 different chapters. But in my resource, I do provide variations of it so that you can have different amounts of summaries per page depending on your students' needs. And I also include a scoring rubric that you can use to grade the assignment. That is a resource that is currently on my TPT store. Let me show you one of my students' examples. This is a chapter summary example made by one of my students. They were asked to do this chapter summary for the first 5 chapters of Mr. Popper's Penguins. So basically, they first draw a symbol or a small picture that represents that chapter, and then they write a summary about the main important events that happened in that chapter. So that's what they did as well. Now, in addition to the things that I created myself, which are the chapter summaries, the annotations, and the book review, I also use novel study guides that I got from TPT. So let me show you 2 of the ones that I like to use with this book. I didn't use the one with the trifolds for this story, but I have used it in the past. So let me show you those right now. So the first novel study that I want to show you for Mr. Popper's Penguins is by TheBookUmbrella. They are one of my favorite stores on TPT for novel studies. They have some of these guides for a lot of the popular books that are out there. But basically, it includes a lot of different activities, and some of them are pretty much the same for each chapter. For example, each chapter set has a dictionary detective, vocabulary study, understanding the story, and a chapter summary. So this is one of the ones that I used for chapters 7 through 9, and the students completed it. And then the other novel study that I use is this one, which is a trifold novel study that has a trifold for 5 chapters at a time. So you fold it like a brochure, and as you can see, there's different skills per chapter that the students work on as they read the book. So those are the 2 that I recommend. All right, what I would like to do right now is something that I mentioned yesterday in my video. I wanted to share some of my tips that I use when I'm creating documents on PowerPoint. So let me go ahead and do that right now. All right, so first things first, make sure you open PowerPoint. When you open PowerPoint, this is how your slide is going to look. For me, it looks widescreen because that is the settings for the PowerPoint. But what I usually do when I'm creating a document is I go immediately to the Design tab. And once I'm there, I click on right here where it says Slide Size, and I go to Custom Slide Size. And this is where I can change the size of the slide into a portrait or landscape, depending what I'm making. And I make it into an 8.5 by 11, which is the size of a standard piece of paper. And I click OK. Then I go to Ensure Fit, and it looks like a regular sheet of paper. I go over here to Home, and then I go to the Layout, and I scroll down until I see the blank layout. And this is basically how I start my template. From here, I can go ahead and insert text boxes. And in the text boxes is where I usually would type like name. And then you can go ahead and do a line. And then you write date. And you type in another line. And the cool thing is that if I click on this whole entire text box, I can then go to format up here, and then I can go to align, and I can center align it, and it's all centered. I can also move it to the top. Also, PowerPoint has this neat thing. You see that line that comes up? That's center. So it knows that it's already in center. Now, I know this looks like it's small, but it's actually, if you go back to Homes to see the font size, is 18, which is a big font size for a regular paper. So you may want to go down, depending on your type of font, you go down to 10 or to 12. That's 14, let's put it to 12. And then that is pretty much standard. And as you can see, it's smaller, so I can add more line space, and I can add more line space here as well. And then when I'm done, I can drag it. And the way you know you can drag it is, you see how my cursor changes from a cursor to a perpendicular intersecting lines. So that's how you know you can actually move the element. So that's how you can start setting up. Now, another thing that I like to do, so let me just lower this a second, is add a type of border around. So I can go ahead and add a rectangle and draw the rectangle all over the page, okay? And as you can see, it's already filled. But then I go to Format, and I go to Shape Fill, and I can say No Fill, and the shape outline is black, and I can actually also change the thickness of that border. I can make it into 6. You can even make it bigger than that if you just go to Weight and then More Lines, and then this option comes up. So you can even increase it from 6 to even, you know, thicker border. You see, I don't know if you can see how it's growing in thickness, but that's how you can create a border. Now let's make this rectangle a little smaller. And if I want this rectangle aligned, I just go, it's already in format, so I go to align, align center, and then align middle, and it's exactly in the middle of the page. As you can see, we have to delete some lines here so that we can actually see our name and date. And that is how you can already set up your paper so that you have your document already laid out. And then from there, you can add different elements. Now, what I like about this, if you want to add like directions or anything, you can just go ahead and click another text box. You click it, you start typing, and it'll create the text box, and etc. You can also insert pictures. So you just go to Insert up here. So I was in Home. I just go to Insert, and I can go into Pictures, and I can go into wherever I have my picture saved and insert a picture from my graphics that I save on my desktop. So let me see what I'm gonna choose. Let's see, some emojis. Okay, I don't know. Let's insert that emoji. It's really big. Now, the best way to resize images is to go to the corner. You see how now my little perpendicular lines for move, or my cursor, changes into this line. So that's the best way to resize with proportions, so you don't warp the picture or change it. So that's another way, and see how it knows where the center is, and I can center it, etc., and put it where I want it to put it. Now, if I were to insert another graphic, okay, I'll insert that one. It's gonna be that big, but watch what happens when I put it like maybe to the side of this one and I start resizing it. And I wanna try and keep it next to it so that you can see what happens. Let's see, right there. You see how both images have those red lines? That means that this image is now the same size as this image. Also, what I love about PowerPoint is, see, it aligns it so that it's perfectly aligned. Then it tells you how wide apart they are. So if I insert another emoji or another picture, so let's insert another one. Let's do this one. I don't know. Okay, let's also do the same thing with this one, resize it. And the key is to kind of put it next to each other as you're resizing it so that those, see, oops, right there. So that is there, and see, they're all aligned. So they have the same spacing here on the side and the same spacing in between. That's what's awesome about PowerPoint. It does that. Word does not show you those guidelines for you to go ahead and add. Now, if you want to add lines, you go to Insert, like lines for the students to write, and you go to Table, and I just do one table with one column, and you see how it automatically comes colored. Now, I can select it, and up here, I have a Design tab now for Table Tools. So I'm going to say no shading or white shading or whatever shading you want. So let's say no fill. And my borders are going to be all over. So look, now I have all this. So I can then resize my table. Oops, I don't want to do that. So undo. I can resize my table by going up. There goes the arrow. You go to the side. And then if you kind of stretch it, it makes the lines wider because it gives each row the same width. But you don't want it to be that big because these lines look little, but by the time they print, they look like regular lines. If you want more lines to go down, so you just hit Tab and it makes more rows until you're satisfied to where you want those rows to be. So voila. Now, if I want this smaller because maybe I'm having I don't know, I just created this. I have no idea what I'm creating, but maybe it's a reaction page and I can add more emojis per se or whatnot. But for now, let's try to give this a title. So again, I go here to my text box. And if you don't see it here, you could just go to Insert and then Shapes, and then it's there as well. Or you can just go here to text box and you can insert, and let's say my reaction to the story. All right, so we're going to center align that by clicking this, center align, and then we're gonna line it up in the middle. And if you don't know where the middle is, because we have a lot of elements here, you just go back to format, back to align, and back to center, and it'll be in the center. But what we wanna do is we wanna change that font. So I'm gonna go to home, and I'm going to go down my list of fonts. Now, a lot of my fonts I purchased myself through TPT. So some of my favorites are by Kimberly Geswein, and I'm going to choose one of those right now. Let's do that one, which is Janda Manatee Solid. It's one of my favorites. And then I can make it as big as I want and make sure it's still in the center. And if that arrow doesn't come out, there it is. So that's basically what I usually do to create documents. The same thing would work if I wanted a landscape document. It's just I would change the rotation. So for example, if I were to change the rotation for this, I would just go back to design and I will go to slide size, custom slide, and right here, change it to landscape, and voila, ensure fit. And that's how it is. And then I can just resize this so that it goes all the way to the edge of the page. And the same thing with the table. And that's basically what I would do for creating a document. Obviously, I will also add more lines here for the name and the date and so forth. If I were to make this center align, it would not go all the way to the side like it's doing. So let's center so you can see what I'm talking about. See, it just stays in the middle instead of going all the way over there. So that's another tip for you. Just make, you know, if you want it centered, just make the box centered. We just have to adjust it a little bit right now. But yep, there you go. And I can add more emojis if I want, etc. But that's basically the gist of it. I also like that in PowerPoint. They have this in Word as well, but you can go to Insert, and they have icons now if you have the newest version of Microsoft Office. Look at all these awesome icons that you can choose to put inside of your presentation. And basically, let's see if I can find a pencil. There we go. And it comes out like that, and I can make it really big, or I can make it smaller. I can even change the picture right here. It says graphic fill, so I can change it into yellow, and I can outline it in black if I want. And it looks like that. So those are some of the tips that I wanted to share with you as far as how I make documents on PowerPoint. Let me know in the comments down below if this was helpful, because I know some people have asked me if I would share some tips. So those are the tips that I wanted to share in this video. And I also wanted to tell you that it's so easy to save this. So I know right now you're like, but this is PowerPoint and this is a slideshow. But if you go to File, you can actually export this as a PDF file. So once you decide what you're going to name it, I'm just going to put it on my desktop. It's going to convert it into a PDF file, and here it is. And then you can print it, you can save it, you can share it with anyone you want. The other awesome thing about PowerPoint is that you can actually save it as a picture as well. So you go to export, the same thing, change file type. You go to JPEG or PNG. I usually use JPEG. Save as. You do the same thing. So let's save it to the desktop again. And I'm going to just save it. It's going to ask you if you just want this slide or all the slides. If you had more slides and you wanted all of them to be picture slides, then you would choose all slides and it will save it for you in a folder. If you just want one slide like I'm doing here, then I just do just this slide and it's saved as a picture. And it's on my desktop, which is right over here. And it'll take some time to load, but here it is as a picture, which you can either share online on Instagram or your social media, or you can put on a presentation itself, etc. The possibilities are endless. You can make your own images on PowerPoint as well. So those are some of the tips that I definitely wanted to share. All right, so that's about it for today as far as my PowerPoint tips go. I hope that gave you some ideas, and right now I'm going to work on some subplans for 3 days. So I'll catch up with you later. All right, it is 5:45, right? Yes, 5:45, and I have been diligently working on gathering up resources and activities for my students to work on the 3 days that I will not be here. I have gathered a stack of activities that I now need to go take downstairs and make copies of, and I'll type up my subplans and I'll organize everything for the 3 separate days so that it's all ready to go, and then I don't have to worry about it tomorrow, and I can easily just go after school and have a great time at my holiday party with my colleagues from my school. So let's head downstairs, make some copies. So let's go. I'm back from making copies. I feel super accomplished. Now I'm just going to sort everything into the separate days, and once I do that, they'll go in separate folders, and then I can type up my subplans so they can go in there, and it will be done. And I don't have to worry about subplans tomorrow because they're already done. So let me go ahead and do that now, and I'll check back with you later. I just finished sorting all of the papers into the different folders for each different day, and here's how they look like. So obviously before I knew what I was going to print out and make copies of, I did this to-do list, so I more or less knew what I was going to have my students work on each day. So this is Monday, as you can see, and this is Tuesday. And I already showed you Friday. I'm going to go ahead and type up the subplans, and then I'll show you once it's done. All of the subplans have now been assembled, and I did color code them by day. So on Friday is yellow, Monday of next week is green, and then Tuesday of next week is blue. I did put stickies because I don't want these folders to be confused. I mean, the date is already on the subplans themselves, but I wanted to make sure that there was no confusion. So I did make sure that I included my subplans on the front of each folder, and I just secured them with these little paper clips so that they know what goes with what. So here are my subplans for Friday that I am leaving for my students. It has all of the schedule of everything that they will be doing that day. On Friday, they will be having recess. And here is the behavior management that I do if the class is really behaving nicely, and I give some examples of what that is. Then the substitute can draw a star, and if they get 10 stars or more, the class will get a reward when I return. And then these are for individual student shout outs that the sub can give to the students. And then on the back, is a comment form that they can leave me to let me know how their day went. Now moving on to Monday, December 17th, I have again my sub-plans here. The schedule is a little different on Mondays because they have art in the morning. And then after art, I'm having them continue working on their ELA assignments from the morning. Then they go to lunch. Then it's math, science, and social studies, and then dismissal. And then the same thing on the back of the sub-plans. Now here are Tuesday's lesson plans. And again, same sub-template, but it goes over a different schedule. We do have our big ELA block in the morning, followed by lunch and then PE. And then they have their math, science, social studies, and dismissal. So there they are, all of my sub-plans for the next 3 days. Not tomorrow, I'll be here regular time tomorrow. But I have it all ready to go. And I did use color coding and I use a rubber band to keep everything together. So now these will go on my desk and be ready to go for Friday all the way to Tuesday. So that when I come back next week on Wednesday, I can hopefully find everything mostly completed. I'm gonna be realistic and understand that the students are not gonna finish everything, but they at least have enough work to complete for those 3 days that I will not be here. All right, now it's time for me to gather my things and start getting ready to go. So let me do a couple of last minute preparations. And by the way, the last time I checked in with you when I was gonna go make copies, it was 5:45. Right now, it's 7:30. That's how long it's taken me to make the copies, type up the plans, and organize them all so that they're ready to go for those days. I feel good about that, but I do have some other things to get done. All right, so let me get to that, and I will check back with you once I'm getting ready to go home, which shouldn't be too long. See you soon. I'm pretty much packed up and ready to go, but there's one more thing that I forgot, which was the winter packet. I needed to have made copies today, so on my way out, I'm just gonna put it in my mailbox with some paper so that in the morning when I get here, I can immediately start making copies of it so I can give it to my students tomorrow, since I won't be here next week, Monday, when I was planning to give it to them initially. So let me show you what I put together for our winter packet. So this is the cover sheet for our winter packet, and it lets the parents and the students know that they can earn extra credit grades in reading, language arts, and math, and that the packet is due on January 7th. So it is not mandatory for the students to do this packet, but if they do it, they'll get extra credit grades in these subjects. So for math, they have 20 FSA style questions that go over problems from chapters 1 all the way to chapter 6. Then I created a prompt based on one of our Wonders assessment or passage set from Unit 2, Week 2, which is a unit that we do not do according to our district pacing guide. So I wrote an informative essay prompt that have the students explain how the characters learn from their poor decisions. These passages go over the standard of theme. So I have included in here also an unwrapping the prompt sheet that our district gives to us. I just put it in here and I typed the prompt on top, and here's the passage set. And after they read that, they have 5 questions. These questions do come from our Wonders assessments, but I just condensed it into 1 page so the students can have it there and we don't have to use as many pages. Here is the second passage. So after they read this passage set, they have 5 more questions related to what the passage was about and going over theme. After they go ahead and read the passages and answer the questions, the students can then gather evidence. So this is where they will gather evidence about how the characters learn from the poor decisions. And then they create a plan for their writing, what the topic is, reason or idea 1, 2, 3, elaboration, and evidence. And then the students have 2-line pages to go ahead and write their essay. Now, if they need more than 2, they can just attach it. But that's basically what our winter packet contains. So I am now ready to go. It is almost 7:45. It is actually 20 minutes to 8. But before I go, I would like to give a shout out to one of my students, and this shout out goes out to Rachel. Rachel's smile and positivity just light up my day, and she tries her best in everything she does, and I give her props for that. So Rachel, the shout out goes out to you. You are an amazing kid, and keep doing the great work that you always do. All right, so that's all I have for you on this kind of long Vlogmas Day 12, but it was jam-packed with a lot of information and resources. So I hope those of you out there found something in this vlog useful. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, leave a comment down below, let me know what you thought or any questions you may have. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell for notifications so you don't miss any future videos. I hope you have a beautiful, magical day, and don't forget to smile. Hello, dreamers, wishers, and magical thinkers. Thank you so much for making it to the very end of this video and for showing your support. If you'd like to subscribe, you can do so by clicking on my picture down here. You can also check out my latest videos here and here. Don't forget to believe in the magic that's inside you because you are capable of great things. See you next time.